and we've got 9 counties without a single doctor. We have a healthcare crisis in the state, and Brian Kemp is exacerbating this crisis. He spent 4 years trying to steal the rights of women. We cannot give him 4 more.
What's your message to moderate Republican or independent women who might be disillusioned with Democratic leadership but now feel on the fence about this law?
I will tell them that Georgia has a balanced budget requirement, which means the economy is pretty steady no matter who's in charge. I will tell them that Georgia is part of a nation that faces economic things to go down, but this law is permanent. Unless we have new leadership, this law will govern their lives, the lives of their daughters, the lives of their friends. The economy can change, but this law becomes the law of the land. And I would say to balance whether your immediate concerns about money outweigh your concerns about your constitutional protected rights. Brian Kemp has no interest in your rights, and we have no guarantee he actually cares that much about your economy, because so far his policies have only really helped if you were already doing well. He is sitting on $547 million that can stave off evictions, many of which may be women who just need to stay inside for a little bit longer while they finish this forced birth that they're being forced to carry. Brian Kemp does not care. I do. I am someone who has proven it time and again as an individual, as a legislator, and I will prove it as the next governor of the great state of Georgia. Yes.
Do you think that the personhood provisions of this law will have unintended consequences, and what do you think those might be?
I think that it will have consequences. I can't speak to whether they intend them or not. But we know that there are the more glib consequences of being able to use HOV lanes. But there's a very real possibility that we are granting constitutional rights to some while stripping them away from others. That we are telling women that if they have an accident, if they smoke a cigarette, if they drink a beer, that they somehow have now committed feticide, that they are now committing a crime that should not be criminalized, that they're committing an act that should not be criminalized. We know that when you grant full humanity under the law, there are a host of rights that follow. And unfortunately, this bill is so poorly written and so poorly crafted that even the exceptions built in do not actually provide protection. The only solution is to repeal this law and to repeal those who passed this law, and that is why we have to replace Brian Kemp and the entire slate running in 2022.
Yeah. Do you see any hope at the federal level for protections from Democrats up there, or is this really a state battle?
We know that as of right now, until Congress can act, it is up to the states. But hear me clearly. I'm running for governor because I intend to be the leader of this state. I want to be in partnership with our congressional leaders, with our senators, but my first responsibility is to be the leader of this state and to protect the people of the state, especially the women of the state. It would be nice to have support from Washington, but this is a battle that's going to be fought in Georgia, and we have to win this battle for the women of Georgia.
What's your advice to women seeking reproductive health care right now who might be seeking abortions who are beyond the law's limits?
First of all, I would urge us to not use the pejorative language that has been assigned to this law. It is the electrical impulses do not actually constitute a heartbeat. And it's important that we use the proper language to describe what's happening, because this is about biology. This is about medicine. We know that women who need in vitro fertilization may be stopped from actually being able to conceive if they wish to. We know that those who face difficulties in pregnancy are being forced to go through a number of hoops, and they may not be able to get the medical care they need in time to meet those obligations. The challenge with this law is that it ignores biology, it ignores morality, and it ignores the legitimacy of medical decisions. There is nothing in this law that should stand. And I want to be clear, Brian Kemp has said that this isn't the end for him. He actually has said he does not believe in exceptions for rape or incest. As Representative Wynn pointed out, the bill was actually a no exceptions bill when it was first introduced. It was a no exceptions bill that was mediated by Democrats. But if Republicans get back into power, if we have a lame duck governor who can simply do whatever he wants, then we know that he may come back and outlaw the abortion pill. He may outlaw RU 486. He may outlaw so many things that we are not anticipating, because he knows that he can operate with impunity. There are no consequences for Brian Kemp after November 2022. and for the women of Georgia who want to have control over their bodies, control over when they decide to become mothers. Brian Kemp is a danger to them, and he is a danger to their futures.
Do you have any other questions?
Yes, sir.
What do you have to say to emergency medical responders who might be worried that they might be charged with a crime just for caring or basic maternal health care in this area?
We know that if you are a healthcare provider in Georgia, as of today, you risk losing your livelihood and your freedom if you provide medical care. This bill makes it a crime to provide medical care to women. We have already seen this happen with a woman who was forced to have an ectopic pregnancy rupture because the doctor was afraid that he would lose his license if he provided medical care. That is a life crisis. And while the law may on paper say it gives exceptions for risk to the life of the mother, that is a decision that's being made from a subjective point of view with a doctor balancing his freedom versus her life. And too often, they're going to err on the side of caution, which means a woman is put at risk. And even if a woman doesn't lose her entire life, if she suffers the consequences, the physical consequences of an ectopic pregnancy, the physical consequences of having to carry a child to term with the inability to care for that child upon birth, with the inability to recover physically from that act. If a doctor says, I know this is going to cause you permanent injury, there is no exception in this law. We know that EMTs, that nurses, that nurse practitioners, they all risk losing their licenses and losing their freedom, being criminalized. And we know that the next spate of laws that will come forward in Georgia will be laws to criminalize the women themselves. It has already started. Yes, there is an exception for miscarriage, but how do you prove it was a miscarriage? Miscarriage biologically is called a spontaneous abortion. So how do you prove it unless you're investigating? How many women are going to have to wake up because someone told the sheriff that someone committed a crime in that house? And a woman has to wake up at 3 in the morning in the midst of a tragedy and prove that she had a spontaneous abortion, a miscarriage, and did not violate HB 481. Brian Kemp does not care about the consequences. He cares about the political capacity that he has because he's governor. And we must remove him as governor, and we must remove anyone who stands on his side. I grew up in a community that often took an anti-abortion position. But my parents sent me to college. They didn't send me there to learn about abortion. They sent me there to learn about a broader world. And there I met my friend who shared my same religious beliefs, and we shared conversations, and I evolved on this issue because I learned more. And what I understand is that abortion is not a political decision. It is a medical choice. It is a medical decision often made in the most heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching moments of a woman's life. And that it is callous, it is cruel, it is lethal to have a governor who would subject a woman to a possible spate of criminal activity simply because she chooses to make a medical decision for herself and for her family. Thank you all so much.